The champagne glasses were already filled when my mother stood up. I thought she was about to toast Marcus and me. The dinner table sparkled with her finest china, candles flickering between elaborate floral arrangements. 17 guests, family, close friends, colleagues from her charity board, watched expectantly. Instead of raising her glass, Mother smiled that tight smile I'd learned to fear over 28 years. "Before we celebrate," she announced, her voice cutting through the gentle conversation, "I need to clarify something important about this engagement." The room went completely silent. My stomach twisted as she reached into her designer handbag and pulled out a printed list, unfolding it with deliberate slowness. This wasn't a toast. This was an ambush. Marcus's hand found mine under the table, his grip tightening. I watched my mother smooth the paper against the tablecloth, her perfectly manicured nails catching the candlelight. "I've prepared the guest list for the engagement party," she said, her tone pleasant but edged with something sharp. My Aunt Helen shifted uncomfortably in her seat. My father stared at his untouched plate. "I've been very thoughtful about this," Mother continued, scanning the faces around the table. Then she began reading names aloud. Mother's voice carried across the table as she read. "Patricia and William, of course. The Andersons from the club. Veronica Chun." She paused, glancing up. "She's been asking about the engagement. The Harrisons, naturally. My colleagues from the foundation board." She continued down the list, naming people I barely knew, distant cousins I hadn't seen in years, her social circle carefully curated over decades. Each name felt like a small stone being placed on my chest. Then she stopped, set the paper down carefully, looked directly at Carmen, Marcus's mother, who sat frozen at the far end of the table. "Now, regarding Marcus's family," Mother said, her voice dripping with false sympathy, "I think it's best if we keep this celebration intimate. Just our circle." The words landed like a slap. "You see," she continued, as if explaining something obvious to a child, "we need to be thoughtful about appearances, about who represents this union publicly." I felt Marcus go rigid beside me. His mother's face had gone pale. "Just our circle," Mother repeated, smiling. "I'm sure you understand. It would reflect poorly otherwise." The silence that followed was suffocating. Someone's fork clinked against a plate. My cousin looked away, and I knew this entire dinner had been choreographed for this exact moment. I sat frozen, my mind racing to catch up with what was happening. This wasn't spontaneous. The printed list, the timing, the carefully assembled audience, Mother had planned every detail. She'd chosen who would witness this, who would hear her declare Marcus's family unworthy of public association with ours. I watched the faces around the table. Some looked uncomfortable, eyes darting away. Others, Mother's closest friends, wore expressions of sympathetic agreement, as if she were making a difficult but necessary decision. My father said nothing, his silence a familiar betrayal. Aunt Helen's hand trembled slightly around her wineglass. Marcus's father, Thomas, had gone completely still, his jaw clenched. "I'm not trying to be unkind," Mother added, her voice taking on that martyred tone she used when delivering criticism. "I'm simply being realistic about social expectations, about maintaining standards." She looked at me then, eyes sharp despite her pleasant expression. "I'm protecting you, Maya. From the awkwardness, from the questions people will ask." The implication hung in the air. Marcus's family was the source of potential embarrassment. Not worthy, not suitable, not enough. And she just announced this to 17 people, ensuring there would be no private conversation, no quiet negotiation. This was public judgment. Mother set the list aside and reached for her champagne glass, as if the matter was settled. "I'm only protecting you," she said again, looking at me with that expression I'd seen countless times before, concern masking control. "You'll thank me later when you're not dealing with uncomfortable social situations." She said it so matter-of-factly, as if protecting me meant humiliating the man I loved and his entire family in front of witnesses, as if love required apology. My hands shook in my lap. I wanted to scream, to stand up and demand she take it back. But the words stuck in my throat, years of conditioning keeping me silent and compliant. Good daughters didn't make scenes. Good daughters trusted their mother's wisdom. Good daughters understood that image mattered more than feeling. "Social compatibility is important," Mother continued, warming to her theme now. Marcus is a lovely person, I'm sure. But we must be realistic about long-term sustainability. About the life you're building. She wasn't talking about Marcus anymore. She was talking about his family's income, his parents' professions, the neighborhood where he grew up. She was reducing everything to a calculation of worth based on wealth and status. And suddenly, with devastating clarity, I understood. This wasn't about the engagement at all. This was about power, about maintaining her control over my life, my choices, my future. And she'd just drawn a line in the sand. The drive home felt endless. Marcus gripped the steering wheel so tightly his knuckles had gone white. Neither of us spoke for the first 15 minutes. The silence pressed down like a weight, heavy with everything we couldn't yet say. I stared out the window, watching streetlights blur past, replaying every moment of the dinner in my mind. The way Mother had timed her announcement, waiting until everyone was settled and comfortable. The way she'd read the list with such casual authority, as if excluding Marcus's family was simply common sense. The way she looked at Carmen when she said, "It would reflect poorly." It wasn't spontaneous cruelty. It was calculated, deliberate, performed for maximum impact. "I'm sorry," Marcus said finally, his voice tight. "I'm sorry you had to sit through that." The words broke something in my chest. He was apologizing. For what? For existing? For having parents who were teachers instead of executives? For loving me despite my mother's viciousness? "Don't," I whispered. "This isn't your fault." But even as I said it, I felt the familiar pattern clicking into place, the urge to smooth things over, to minimize the damage, to find some way to excuse Mother's behavior. That's what I always did. That's what she counted on. "What are you going to do?" Marcus asked. I didn't have an answer. Not yet. I decided on silence. Not the absence of words, but the presence of a new boundary. I simply stopped engaging. Mother called the next morning at 8 a.m. I watched the phone buzz on my nightstand and didn't answer. She called again at noon, at 3 p.m., at 7 that evening. Each time, I let it go to voicemail. I didn't listen to her messages. Days passed. My phone accumulated 17 missed calls, a growing list of attempts to reach me. She texted, "We need to discuss the party arrangements." I didn't respond. "Maya, please call me back." Nothing. "You're being childish." I deleted it without replying. This was different from our usual pattern. Normally, after one of Mother's cutting remarks or controlling moments, I would call within hours. I'd apologize for being sensitive, thank her for her concern, smooth everything over until the tension dissolved. I'd been doing it for so long I barely noticed anymore the emotional labor of managing her feelings while swallowing my own. But this time, something had shifted. The public humiliation, the printed list, the casual cruelty delivered in front of Marcus's parents. It had crossed a line I hadn't known existed until she'd obliterated it. I wasn't angry, exactly. I was clear. Clear about what I would and wouldn't accept. Clear about my worth and Marcus's worth. Clear that her expectations no longer controlled my choices. So I gave her nothing. No reaction. No explanation. Just absence. On day 8, she showed up at my apartment. I watched through the window as she parked her Mercedes, emerged in a Chanel suit, and walked to my door with that purposeful stride I knew so well. She knocked. 3 sharp raps. "Maya, I know you're home. Your car is here." I stayed on the couch, book open in my lap, heart pounding. She knocked again. "This is ridiculous. We need to talk like adults." I didn't move. After 5 minutes, she left. I exhaled shakily, surprised by my own resolve. That evening, my father texted, "Your mother is worried. Please call her." I typed back carefully, "I need space right now." 3 dots appeared and disappeared. Then, "She's just trying to help." I stared at the message, decades of enabling condensed into 5 words. I didn't respond. 2 days later, Mother called from a different number, probably hoping I'd answer thinking it was someone else. When I saw the unfamiliar digits, I almost picked up. Almost. Instead, I let it go to voicemail. Her voice, when I finally listened, sounded different. Higher. Less controlled. "Maya, this is getting out of hand. I don't understand why you're overreacting to a simple conversation about guest arrangements. Call me back. Now." I saved the message. Overreacting. There it was. The familiar refrain meant to make me doubt my own perception, my own feelings. In the silence, I started noticing patterns I'd ignored for years. I thought about my college graduation, when Mother had spent the entire dinner critiquing my chosen major. Sociology is charming, dear, but impractical. You should have done business. I'd laughed it off, changed the subject, made everyone comfortable. I remembered bringing home my first serious boyfriend, Kyle. Within an hour, Mother had made 3 subtle comments about his family's modest background. He'd never felt comfortable around her again. We broke up 6 months later. I thought about family gatherings where I'd spend hours beforehand coaching relatives on what topics to avoid around Mother, what compliments would please her, how to navigate her moods. I'd been her emotional bodyguard, her reputation manager, her acceptable face to the world. Every conflict I'd smooth over. Every hurt feeling I'd absorbed. Every uncomfortable moment I'd defused with humor or subject changes or strategic flattery. I'd convinced myself this was love, that managing her feelings was my responsibility as her daughter. But sitting in my quiet apartment, Marcus's engagement ring catching the afternoon light, I finally understood this wasn't love. This was control dressed up in maternal concern. The engagement dinner wasn't new. It was just louder, just public enough that I couldn't pretend it away, or laugh it off, or convince myself I was being too sensitive. She'd humiliated Marcus's family deliberately, and she'd done it in front of witnesses to make her judgment official. I stopped doing the work. The invisible, constant work of holding our family together. Mother's birthday was coming up, a major event in her social calendar. Usually, I'd spend weeks organizing the lunch at her favorite restaurant, calling relatives, managing RSVPs, ensuring everything was perfect. This year, I did nothing. I didn't call the restaurant, didn't coordinate with family, didn't send reminder texts, just stopped. My cousin called 3 days before. "Maya, what's the plan for your mom's birthday? You usually handle this." "I'm not organizing it this year," I said simply. "Oh." A long pause. "Is everything okay?" "I'm focusing on wedding planning." Another pause. Should someone else handle it then?" "That's up to Mother," I said. The day arrived. According to Aunt Helen, only 6 people showed up. Mother had apparently assumed I'd managed everything as usual, so she hadn't followed up with invitations or confirmations herself. The lunch was awkward, understaffed, missing half the usual attendees. Mother called me that evening, her voice tight with barely controlled anger. "You embarrassed me today." I almost laughed at the irony. "I've been busy," I said calmly. "You've never been too busy before. Things have changed." Silence. Then, icily, "We'll discuss this later." But we didn't, because I didn't make myself available for discussion. A week later, there was a family gathering at my parents' house, a casual Sunday dinner that happened monthly. Usually, I arrived early to help set up, mediated seating arrangements to avoid conflicts, and smoothed over tense moments with strategic topic changes. This time, I didn't go. I texted my regrets that morning. "Can't make it tonight. Prior commitment." Within hours, my phone lit up with confused messages. "My cousin, you're never missing Sunday dinner. Everything okay? Aunt Helen, your mother seems upset you're not coming. My father, this isn't like you." I responded to none of them. According to Helen, who called me the next day, the dinner had been a disaster. Without my quiet mediation, old resentment surfaced. Mother and her sister argued about something from decades ago. My uncle made an inappropriate political comment that usually I would have deflected. The conversation grew strained, then openly hostile. People left early. "Everyone kept asking where you were," Helen said carefully. "What did Mother say?" "That you were dealing with wedding stress." Helen paused. "Maya, what's really going on?" I considered my answer. Helen had been at the engagement dinner. She'd watched Mother humiliate Marcus's family and said nothing. "I'm setting boundaries," I said finally. "About what?" "About being treated with respect." The line went quiet. Then Helen said softly, "That dinner was hard to watch." It was the closest thing to acknowledgement I'd gotten from anyone in my family. Mother's version of events started circulating through the family network. My cousin Brianna called, her voice uncertain. "So, your mom says you're going through a phase? That Marcus is influencing you somehow. I closed my eyes. Of course, Mother couldn't accept that I'd chosen to step back. There had to be an external cause, someone leading me astray. What exactly did she say? I asked. Brianna hesitated. That you're confused. That wedding planning is stressful, and you're not thinking clearly. That Marcus's family has different values, and it's affecting your judgment. There it was. The narrative Mother was building. I was a victim of influence, not an adult making informed decisions about boundaries and respect. She's worried about you, Brianna added, though her tone suggested she wasn't entirely convinced. She thinks once the wedding excitement settles, you'll see things more clearly. Translation: Mother expected me to come to my senses, apologize for my absence, and resume my role as family peacekeeper and her emotional manager. I'm thinking very clearly, I said. Clearer than I have in years. Over the next week, variations of Mother's story reached me through different relatives. I was being influenced. I was confused about priorities. I was letting wedding stress cloud my judgment. But interestingly, not everyone was buying it. Some relatives remembered the engagement dinner. Some had noticed over years how Mother spoke to me, how she controlled situations, how I constantly smoothed over her sharp edges. Aunt Helen called and asked to meet for coffee. We sat in a quiet corner of a cafe I'd never been to, her choice, away from anywhere Mother might frequent. Helen looked nervous, stirring sugar into her cup 3 times before speaking. I need to tell you something, she said finally, about that dinner, the guest list moment. She paused. It didn't sit right with me. It hasn't sat right since. I waited, surprised by the sudden emotion in her voice. Your mother was cruel, Helen continued. Deliberately cruel. In front of everyone. She looked up, meeting my eyes. And I said nothing. I'm ashamed of that. The acknowledgement cracked something open in my chest. Someone had witnessed it. Someone had seen. There's something else, Helen said slowly. Something you might not know about your mother's past. She took a breath. When your parents got engaged, your grandmother disapproved of your father's family. She tried to control the wedding, limit the guest list, exclude people she deemed unsuitable. I stared at her. I'd never heard this story. Your mother was devastated, Helen continued. She cried for weeks, swore she'd never let anyone make her feel that way again, swore she'd never judge people based on money or background. Helen's eyes were sad now. And look what she's become. Exactly what her mother was. Worse, maybe, because she knows how it feels. I drove home from coffee with Helen, mind spinning. Mother had experienced this exact humiliation, had her future in-laws dismissed as unworthy, had love judged by social standards, and had somehow transformed that pain into a weapon. She'd become her mother. The realization felt both shocking and inevitable. I remembered fragments now. Mother's tense relationship with my grandmother, who'd passed away when I was 12. The strained visits, the careful conversations. I'd assumed it was just typical family friction. But it was deeper. It was history repeating. And I was living in the echo of my grandmother's cruelty, delivered through my mother's voice. I called Marcus that evening. Did you know about my grandmother? About what she did to my parents? Your dad mentioned something once, he said carefully. About tension during their engagement. Why? I told him what Helen had revealed. There was a long silence. So she's doing to us exactly what was done to her, Marcus said quietly. Yeah, that's... He searched for words. That's tragic and infuriating. It was both. Mother had survived judgment and exclusion, had felt the sting of being deemed not good enough. And instead of breaking the cycle, she perfected it. She'd learned from her mother's cruelty and refined it, made it more subtle, more socially acceptable. She turned her pain into power, the power to make others feel small. I started spending more time with Marcus's family. Every Sunday, we had dinner at Carmen and Thomas's house. Their home was smaller than my parents', decorated with family photos and mismatched furniture that told stories. There was no performance here. No careful staging or status displays. Just warmth. Carmen taught me to make her grandmother's tamales, patient as I fumbled with the corn husks. Thomas showed me his collection of vintage records, telling stories about concerts from his youth. Marcus's younger sister, Sophia, joked freely without worrying about saying the wrong thing. This was what family could be, Imperfect, real, safe. One evening, as I helped Carmen wash dishes, she touched my hand gently. Her eyes were kind but serious. Maya, I want you to know something. What your mother said at that dinner, it doesn't define you. Or Marcus. Or us. My throat tightened. I'm so sorry. Don't, Carmen interrupted firmly. Don't apologize for her choices. You are not responsible for her behavior. You can't control what she says or does. You can only control your response. The simple truth of it hit me hard. I'd spent years managing Mother's impact, absorbing her cruelty, so others wouldn't have to, taking responsibility for smoothing over her edges. You're not her keeper, Carmen continued. You're her daughter, and you deserve to be treated with love and respect. Later, driving home, I cried, not from sadness, but from relief. Someone understood. Someone saw me, not as Mother's emotional manager, but as a person deserving of care. Mother's patience finally broke. She sent a text that was more demand than request. We need to talk. Tomorrow. 2 p.m. coffee. No question mark. No please. Just expectation that I'd comply. I stared at the message for a long time. The old Maya would have immediately agreed, rearranged her schedule, shown up early. The new Maya, the one who'd been setting boundaries for 3 weeks, hesitated. Finally, I replied, I can meet Thursday at 4. Public place of my choosing. 3 dots appeared and disappeared several times. Then, fine. I chose a cafe downtown, neutral territory, with other people around. Thursday arrived. I got there first, ordered coffee, sat where I could see the door. Mother arrived exactly on time, dressed impeccably as always, her expression carefully composed. She sat across from me, set her purse aside with deliberate precision. This has gone on long enough, she said without preamble. I've given you space to work through whatever you're feeling. Now we need to move forward. No apology, no acknowledgement of what she'd done. Just a reset button, expecting everything to return to normal. Move forward how? I asked calmly. Plan the engagement party properly. With my help. With appropriate guest arrangements. She emphasized appropriate like it explained everything. You mean with Marcus's family excluded? Her jaw tightened. I mean with thoughtful consideration of how this union reflects on our family's reputation. There it is, I said softly. Reputation. Not love. Not Marcus's worth, or his family's kindness. Just how it looks to your friends. Maya, I'm not moving forward on those terms. Mother's expression shifted, her carefully maintained composure showing cracks. You're being unreasonable, she said, voice rising slightly. I'm trying to help you avoid future embarrassment. Embarrassment, I repeated. You keep using that word, but I think you mean shame. Your shame. Your discomfort with Marcus's family not matching your social circle. She leaned forward, eyes sharp. This isn't about shame. It's about reality. Society has expectations. Whether you like it or not, people judge. They notice who associates with whom. These things matter for your future. They matter to you, I corrected. They dictate your worth, your value, your sense of self. But they don't dictate mine. You're young, she said, as if that explained everything. You're in love and not thinking practically. In 5 years, 10 years, when the romance fades and you're navigating social situations with people from completely different backgrounds. You mean when I'm navigating genuine relationships instead of transactional social performances? I interrupted. Her face flushed. I won't apologize for wanting what's best for you. For protecting you from mistakes I can see coming. I'm not asking for an apology, I said, surprising us both. I'm stating a boundary. If you can't respect Marcus and his family, you'll have limited access to my life. She actually laughed. Limited access? I'm your mother, which is why this is painful. But it doesn't change the boundary. The laugh died. She studied my face, looking for weakness, for the familiar pattern where I'd backed down. She didn't find it. Mother stood abruptly, chair scraping against the floor. Several people glanced over. She noticed and lowered her voice, leaning in. You're making a mistake, she said quietly. Cutting me out over wedding planning disagreements. You'll regret this. I'm not cutting you out, I said calmly. I'm establishing what respect looks like. You can choose to meet that standard or not. But the boundary stands. She grabbed her purse, hands shaking slightly. When you come to your senses, when you realize I was trying to protect you, I might not be waiting. It was a threat disguised as consequence. The final attempt at control, the withdrawal of love conditional on my compliance. That's your choice, I said. But it doesn't change mine. She left without another word, heels clicking sharply against the tile floor. I sat alone at the table, coffee growing cold, and felt something unexpected. Peace. I'd stated my boundary clearly. I'd refused to engage in the old pattern of guilt and manipulation. And I'd survived it. My phone buzzed. A text from Marcus. How did it go? I typed back. I held the line. His response came immediately. Proud of you. For the first time in weeks, I felt certain about something. Not hopeful, exactly. Not optimistic about Mother's change. Just certain about my own worth. And that was enough. The social shift began subtly. Mother's friends started asking questions. Patricia, a woman she'd known for 20 years, called me directly. Maya, dear, I hope this isn't intrusive, but your mother mentioned some tension around wedding planning. Her voice was careful, probing. We have different visions for the engagement celebration, I said simply. I see. A pause. She seemed quite stressed at the charity luncheon yesterday. Several of us were asking about the engagement party date. I said nothing, letting the silence speak. Is there a date set? Patricia pressed. We're finalizing details, I said vaguely. Without your mother's involvement. The question hung there, more loaded than it appeared. We're including people who support our relationship, I answered carefully. Another pause. I understand, Patricia said, and something in her tone suggested she understood more than I'd said. The calls continued over the next week. Mother's book club friends. Her colleagues from the foundation. Distant relatives, wondering why they hadn't heard party details. Each conversation was careful, probing, trying to piece together why the usually efficient, socially connected mother hadn't announced anything. And each time, the truth spread organically. Not through accusations, but through absence. Through questions Mother couldn't answer without revealing her control and judgment. Where's the party? Why the delay? Is Maya okay? The whisper network worked faster than any direct confrontation could have. At a charity gala Mother attended, someone made a comment. I heard about it from Helen, who'd been at the same table. A woman named Catherine, an old family friend, asked casually, So when's this engagement party? I'm dying to meet Marcus's family. Mother's smile tightened. We're still finalizing arrangements. Oh, I thought these things usually happened quickly. You're always so organized. Catherine's tone was innocent, but her eyes were sharp. There are complications, Mother said vaguely. Complications. Another woman leaned in. Is everything all right with the engagement? Everything's fine, Mother said quickly. Too quickly. It's just a matter of coordinating schedules. And guest lists? Catherine asked. The table went quiet. Mother's face flushed slightly. What do you mean? I heard there was some discussion about appropriate guests. About family inclusion. Catherine's voice remained pleasant, but the words landed like stones. Mother's composure cracked. That's a private family matter, she said sharply. The table stiffened. Mother never spoke sharply in public. It contradicted the careful image she'd maintained for decades. The gracious hostess, the understanding friend, the woman who never lost control. Of course, Catherine said mildly. I didn't mean to pry, but the damage was done. Everyone at the table had noticed the reaction, the flash of anger, the loss of the carefully maintained mask. Helen told me later that people exchanged glances, that the conversation moved on but the moment lingered. Mother had revealed something she'd worked years to hide. Beneath the polish was something brittle and cruel. Guests from the original engagement dinner started reaching out. First, it was my cousin Brianna. Hey, I'd been thinking about that dinner at your parents' house. The guest list thing. Her voice was hesitant. That was really uncomfortable. Yeah, I said simply. Your mom she said those things about Marcus's family in front of everyone. Including them. That was harsh. It was the first time someone from my family had acknowledged it directly. I should have said something that night, Brianna continued. I'm sorry I didn't. Thank you for saying so now, I replied. Then others. A family friend who'd witnessed it sent a careful email. "I've been disturbed by what I heard at the engagement dinner. If you need support, I'm here." Marcus's uncle, who'd been present, called to check on us. "Your mother's behavior was inexcusable. We wanted you to know we're here for you both." Each conversation revealed the same thing. People had been uncomfortable. They'd noticed the cruelty, the public humiliation, the calculated nature of Mother's announcement. But they'd been paralyzed by social awkwardness, by not wanting to make a scene, by uncertainty about how to respond in the moment. Now, with distance, they were reaching out, naming what they'd witnessed, offering support. I realized Mother's grand performance had backfired. She'd thought public judgment would cement her authority, would pressure me to comply. Instead, she revealed her cruelty to witnesses who couldn't unsee it. Her attempt at control had become evidence against her. My parents hosted their annual holiday gathering, a major event in Mother's social calendar. Usually, I'd spend days helping her prepare, addressing invitations, arranging flowers, coordinating the caterer. This year, I declined the invitation entirely. "You're not coming." Mother's voice on the phone was incredulous. "No," I said simply. "This is a family tradition. I'm starting my own traditions." "Maya, everyone will notice you're not here." "I know," I said and hung up. According to multiple sources, Helen, my father, even Patricia, my absence dominated the evening. People kept asking where I was. Mother gave different answers to different people. I was sick. I was traveling. I was busy with wedding planning. But the inconsistency was obvious. People talked, whispered, connected dots. "It's about the engagement, isn't it?" Someone apparently asked directly. About the family situation? Mother tried to deflect, but too many people had heard too many stories. The evening felt incomplete without my presence managing logistics, mediating conversations, smoothing over tense moments. Food ran out because I hadn't coordinated portions. An argument erupted between relatives because I wasn't there to redirect. The whole structure wobbled. My father texted me that night. "Your mother is very upset." I didn't respond. The power of absence, I was learning, spoke louder than any confrontation. The cracks in Mother's carefully constructed social life widened. Without my constant maintenance, things she'd taken for granted began falling apart. Her birthday lunch, disaster had been just the beginning. The holiday gathering chaos had made it worse. Now people were noticing patterns. "Your mother seems scattered lately," Patricia mentioned during a phone call. She forgot to confirm the charity board meeting. "That's not like her. She seems stressed," another friend observed. "Is everything okay?" What they didn't understand was that Mother had never been the organized, gracious, effortlessly social person they thought. That had been a performance, one I'd supported with endless behind-the-scenes work. I'd managed her calendar, reminded her of commitments, smoothed over her forgotten promises, and defused situations before they became problems. I'd been her invisible infrastructure. Without me, the truth was emerging. Mother was controlling, not organized. Demanding, not gracious. Image-obsessed, not genuinely caring. People were seeing what I'd been covering for years. And her influence, the social capital she'd built on a foundation of carefully maintained appearances, was beginning to crumble. Helen called, her voice worried. "Your mother's reputation is taking hits. People are talking about her differently, questioning things they used to accept." "What are they saying?" "That she's difficult, that she's always been judgmental but they overlooked it, that maybe they don't know her as well as they thought." The consequences, it seemed, were arriving without my intervention. Marcus and I decided to plan our engagement celebration. A real one. On our terms. We found a small venue, a restaurant with a private room, warm lighting, and a genuine atmosphere. Nothing pretentious, nothing designed to impress. Just beautiful and real. "Who do we want there?" Marcus asked, pen ready. We made the list together. Carmen and Thomas, obviously. Marcus's siblings and their families. Sophia, who'd become my friend. My father, if he chose to attend independently. And Helen. A few close friends who'd supported us genuinely. My coworker who'd taken me to lunch after the disaster dinner. Marcus's colleagues who'd celebrated our engagement with authentic joy. People who saw us, who valued kindness over status. who'd shown up with love instead of judgment. The list had 30 names. None of them were Mother's Society friends. None were chosen for appearance or connections. Each name represented someone who'd earned their place through genuine care. "Your mother?" Marcus asked carefully. I thought about it. Really thought. "She's not uninvited," I said finally. "But she's not driving this. If she can attend and be respectful, she's welcome. If she can't, that's her choice." We sent invitations 3 weeks before the event. Simple, elegant cards with both our names and both sets of parents listed as hosts, a deliberate statement of equality. My phone rang within hours. Mother's voice was ice. "What is this?" "An invitation to our engagement celebration," I said calmly. "You planned this without me. We planned it for us. You listed his parents as hosts, as if they're contributing equally. As if they're—" She stopped, catching herself. "As if they're what?" I pressed. "As if they're on the same level," she finished quietly. There it was. The core belief she'd never quite spoken aloud. "They are on the same level," I said. "They're Marcus's parents. They love their son. They've welcomed me with open arms. That's all the level that matters." "This is humiliating," she hissed. "For you. For our family. For our reputation. You're confusing your reputation with our family. They're not the same thing." She took a sharp breath. "I will not attend an event that makes a mockery of proper social standards." "Then don't attend," I said simply. The silence stretched long. I could almost hear her recalculating, expecting me to beg her to reconsider, to find some compromise, to bend to her one more time. "You'd get married without your mother present?" she finally asked. "This isn't the wedding. It's the engagement party. But yes, if necessary, I would celebrate without you. I'd rather have your genuine support than your conditional presence. If I don't come to this, I won't come to the wedding either." It was an ultimatum. Her final card. "That would be your choice," I said. "And I would grieve it. But I won't negotiate my worth or Marcus's worth to earn your attendance." I heard her breath catch. "I need to think," she said abruptly and hung up. Days passed. Mother didn't call back. But the family network activated like a telephone tree. First, my father. "Maya, please reconsider. Your mother is devastated." "I'm not reconsidering anything. She's welcome if she can be respectful." "You're asking her to compromise everything she believes in." "I'm asking her to respect people." "That's not everything. That's basic decency." Next, mother's sister. "Can't you just have 2 celebrations? One for her circle, one for his family." "No. I'm not segregating people I love based on social class." Then Patricia. "Your mother is my friend, but I think you're doing the right thing." This needed to happen. That one surprised me. Then Aunt Helen. "I'm proud of you." "I'll be there." Slowly, responses to the invitations arrived. Yes from Marcus's family. Yes from genuine friends. A maybe from my father, depending on your mother's decision. And silence from Mother. Until 1 week before the celebration, she sent a text. "I'll need to see the final guest list and seating chart before I commit to attending." I replied immediately. "The guest list is final. Seating is casual. Your attendance is your choice, not contingent on approval of our decisions." 3 dots appeared, disappeared, appeared again. Then, "I see." That was all. No commitment. No refusal. Just acknowledgement that her power to control the situation had evaporated. And for the first time in my relationship with her, I felt okay with the uncertainty. I'd done my part. The rest was up to her. 2 days before the celebration, Mother called. Not texted. Called. "I'm not coming," she said without preamble. Her voice was tight, controlled, but I could hear the emotion underneath. "I can't watch you make this mistake. I can't sit there and pretend I support this union when you're refusing to listen to reason." My heart sank despite having expected this. "Okay," I said quietly. "Okay." She sounded surprised. "That's all you have to say? What would you like me to say?" "I've been clear about my boundaries. You've made your choice. I'm sad about it, but I accept it. You're really going to do this without me?" "Yes." Silence stretched between us. Then her voice cracked slightly. "You'll regret this someday. When the marriage falls apart because you built it on romance instead of practical compatibility. If it falls apart," I interrupted, It won't be because we included people who loved us at our engagement party. You're so naive, she said, and I heard tears now. You think love is enough. It's not. Society, expectations, social standing, these things matter whether you want them to or not. They matter to you, I said gently. I'm sorry they cost you so much. I'm sorry you can't see past them to the actual people involved. But that's your loss, not mine. She sucked in a breath. Don't call me when it all falls apart. Don't come crying when you realize I was right. I won't, I promised. But not for the reason you think. I won't call because I'll know I made the right choice for me. She hung up without saying goodbye. The question spread through the family. Why wasn't Mother coming? My father fielded calls from relatives, his explanations growing weaker each time. She's not feeling well. She has a prior commitment. It's complicated, but too many people knew the truth. The engagement dinner had been too public. Mother's comments too memorable. Her absence now was too conspicuous. Cousin Brianna called her directly. Are you really skipping Maya's engagement party? I have my reasons, Mother said stiffly. Because you don't approve of Marcus's family? The blunt question must have shocked her. That's oversimplifying, is it though? Because everyone at that dinner heard what you said. About the guest list. About embarrassment. About his family not being suitable. I was trying to protect Maya from what? Love. Kindness. A family that actually likes each other. Brianna's voice was sharp. I've known you my whole life. I've respected you. But this is wrong. She wasn't the only one. Patricia sent Mother a careful email that she forwarded to me accidentally. I think you're making a mistake. Maya is setting boundaries, not rejecting you. There's a difference. Aunt Helen was more direct. You're going to lose her. And it will be your own fault. The narrative Mother had tried to control, that I was confused, influenced, making mistakes, was unraveling. People were drawing their own conclusions. And those conclusions didn't favor her. At Mother's book club, someone brought it up. According to Helen, who was also a member, the conversation shifted casually to engagements and weddings. My daughter's getting married next spring, one woman said. The planning is exhausting but exciting. Maya's engagement party is this weekend, isn't it? Another asked, looking at Mother. The room grew attentive. Mother's face remained composed, but her hands tightened around her teacup. Yes, I believe so. You believe so? You're her mother. Surely you're involved in planning. Maya wanted to handle it independently, Mother said smoothly. How modern of her, someone remarked. Then Catherine, the same woman from the gala, spoke up. I thought there was something about the guest list being too embarrassing. Dead silence. Mother's face went pale, then flushed. I never said that. Actually, Helen said quietly, you did? At the engagement dinner. I was there. You're misremembering. Several of us heard it. Another woman interjected. The phrase was very specific. You said the engagement was somewhat embarrassing because of Marcus's family background. Mother stood abruptly. This is ridiculous. You're twisting my words, taking things out of context. But she was looking around the room and seeing something she'd never seen before. People not believing her. People comparing their memories. People not deferring to her version of reality. I don't have to defend myself against gossip, she said coldly, gathering her things. It's not gossip, Catherine said mildly. It's direct quotation. Mother left. The book club continued without her. And the story, the truth, continued spreading. Mother's influence began to crumble visibly. Her charity board questioned a decision she'd made unilaterally. Usually Maya coordinates these events with you, someone noted. Where is she these days? At her country club, people stopped seeking her opinion on social matters. The subtle deference she'd enjoyed for years simply evaporated. I heard about your daughter's situation, one acquaintance said with false sympathy. So difficult when children make impulsive decisions. But others were less sympathetic, more pointed. I heard you're not attending her engagement party. That must be painful for both of you. The power she'd wielded, built on a reputation for social grace, for having the right connections, for knowing how to navigate society, was revealed as fragile. It had depended on people believing in her carefully constructed image. Without that belief, there was nothing underneath. Patricia stopped by my apartment 3 days before the celebration. I wanted you to know something, she said. Your mother called me crying last night. I felt a pang in my chest despite everything. She's desperate, Patricia continued, asking me to convince you to postpone the party, to reconsider the guest list. She's offering to help plan a proper celebration. What did you tell her? That she needs to accept your boundaries. That she's losing you by trying to control you. Patricia's eyes were kind. She's terrified, not of losing status, though that's part of it. She's terrified of being irrelevant in your life. She's making herself irrelevant, I said softly. I know, but she can't see it yet. The morning before the celebration, Mother sent an email. Not a text. An email, formal and carefully worded. Maya, I've given considerable thought to our situation. I'm willing to attend your engagement party under the following conditions. You acknowledge my concerns about social compatibility. You agree to a second, more formal celebration for our extended circle. You recognize that I'm trying to protect your future. If you can agree to these terms, I'll attend tomorrow and offer my full support. I read it twice. Then I called Marcus. She sent conditions for her attendance. Conditions. She wants me to acknowledge her concerns, agree to a separate party for her friends, and basically admit she was right all along. In exchange for attending the party we've already planned. Yeah. Marcus was quiet for a moment. What are you going to do? I looked at the email again. Saw the fundamental misunderstanding at its core. Mother thought this was a negotiation. That she still held cards to play. That her attendance was valuable enough to demand concessions. She didn't understand. I'd already grieved her absence. I'd already accepted it. Her presence at this point would be a gift, not a necessity. I'm going to say no, I said. I replied simply, I can't agree to those conditions. You're welcome to attend tomorrow with an open heart and respectful behavior. Otherwise, I understand and accept your decision not to come. Her response came within minutes. Then I won't be there. Okay, I typed back. And for the first time, I meant it completely. The night before the celebration, I couldn't sleep. I lay in bed, watching the ceiling fan rotate slowly, thinking about how far I'd come since that awful dinner. 2 months. That's all it had been. 2 months since Mother had pulled out that printed list and announced my engagement was embarrassing. 2 months since everything I'd normalized, her judgment, her control, her conditional love, had become suddenly unbearably clear. I thought about the woman I'd been before that dinner. The one who absorbed cruelty to keep peace, who managed everyone's emotions except her own, who believed that love meant accepting whatever treatment came her way. That woman felt like a stranger now. I thought about Mother, alone in her perfect house, surrounded by her perfect things, having chosen her social image over her daughter. Part of me felt desperately sad for her, for what she was missing, for what her rigidity had cost her, but I also felt something new, freedom. Freedom from the constant work of managing her expectations. Freedom from the fear of disappointing her. Freedom from the belief that her approval determined my worth. Marcus stirred beside me. You okay? Yeah, I whispered. Just thinking. About tomorrow. About everything. He pulled me closer. Whatever happens tomorrow, we have each other. We have people who actually love us. That's enough. He was right. It was enough. More than enough. The celebration day arrived bright and clear. The venue looked beautiful. Simple white flowers, soft lighting, tables arranged casually for conversation rather than formal seating. People started arriving at 6. Carmen and Thomas came first, bringing homemade appetizers despite my protests. We wanted to contribute, Carmen said, hugging me tight. Your family. Sophia arrived with Marcus's brother and his wife, their kids running around excitedly. Aunt Helen came with her husband, pressing a gift into my hands. So proud of you, she whispered. My father arrived alone. He hugged me stiffly, avoiding my eyes. Your mother might still come, he said quietly. She was getting dressed when I left. My heart did a small flip. Hope I'd thought I'd extinguished sparked briefly. But I pushed it down. If she came, okay. If she didn't, okay. I wouldn't let the uncertainty poison this moment. Friends arrived, co-workers, Marcus's extended family filling the room with laughter and warmth. Everyone mingling easily, no forced conversation or social performance. Just genuine connection. At 6:30, the official start time, Mother hadn't arrived. At 6:45, still nothing. At 7, I stopped checking the door. And then, at 7:15, she walked in. The room didn't go silent, but I felt the shift. People noticing. Conversation continuing, but attention fragmenting. Mother stood in the doorway, visibly uncomfortable, completely out of her element. She wore a designer dress, full makeup, her armor firmly in place. But her eyes scanned the room with something close to panic. All eyes shifted toward Mother, then toward me. The room held its breath. I walked over slowly, aware of everyone watching. "You came," I said quietly. "I'm here," she replied, not quite meeting my gaze. "But I need you to understand." "Not now," I interrupted gently. "If you're here, be here. No conditions. No negotiations. Just be here." She looked like she might argue. Then she nodded once, sharply. I guided her to a table near the back, away from Carmen and Thomas. Gave her space to acclimate, but I noticed people's faces. Some looked uncomfortable, others curious. A few seemed almost protective of me, watching to make sure Mother didn't cause a scene. The celebration continued, but there was tension now. Mother sat rigidly, accepting a glass of wine but not touching the food. She spoke minimally to the people at her table. When Carmen walked past, they made brief, painful eye contact. Neither spoke. At 8, we started the toasts. Marcus's best friend went first, telling funny stories. Sophia made everyone laugh with childhood embarrassment tales. Then Aunt Helen stood. She looked directly at Mother before speaking. "I want to toast Maya's courage, her ability to know her worth and demand respect. She's teaching all of us what healthy boundaries look like." The room applauded. Mother's face remained expressionless, but I saw her grip tighten on her wine glass. The tension was building toward something. I could feel it. I hadn't planned to speak, but standing there, surrounded by people who'd shown up with genuine love, I felt words rising. I walked to the front of the room. The conversations quieted. "Thank you all for being here," I started, my voice slightly shaky. This celebration almost didn't happen. I glanced at Mother. She'd gone very still. Someone I love very much thought it would be embarrassing to include certain people. She worried about appearances, about social circles, about what others would think. The room was absolutely silent now. She wanted a guest list that reflected well on her image, rather than reflecting the truth of who we love and who loves us. I saw Carmen's eyes filling with tears, saw my father shifting uncomfortably, saw Mother's face cycling through emotions, shock, anger, shame. But this celebration isn't about image. It's about truth. And the truth is, I'm marrying into a family that values people over status, that offers kindness without conditions, that shows up with genuine support instead of judgment. My voice strengthened. Everyone here tonight earned their invitation by seeing us, by valuing us as we are, by offering love instead of critique. I looked directly at Mother now. I'm grateful to everyone who understands that worth isn't measured by bank accounts or social connections. Who sees the difference between genuine care and conditional approval? People started standing, applauding. Not for me, but for the truth finally spoken aloud. Mother sat frozen, the only one not moving. "I want to talk about embarrassment," I continued, my voice clear now. "Because that word has been used a lot in relation to this engagement." Mother's face had gone pale. "I was told this engagement was embarrassing, that Marcus's family would reflect poorly, that including teachers and civil servants at a celebration would somehow diminish us." I paused, letting the words land. "But I've learned something important. Embarrassment isn't about background or income or social status. Embarrassment is cruelty disguised as standards. It's judging people's worth by their resumes instead of their character. It's valuing appearance over authenticity." The room was absolutely still. If I should be embarrassed by anything, it's not by Marcus's wonderful family. It's not by the warm, genuine people in this room. It should be by ever thinking that love needs to apologize for itself. I saw tears on several faces now. Carmen was openly crying. Sophia had her arm around her mother. So I'm redefining embarrassment for myself. I'm embarrassed by cruelty, not kindness. By judgment, not acceptance. By conditional love, not unconditional support. I raised my glass. To everyone here who shows up as they are, who loves without contingencies, who understands that the only social circle that matters is drawn with compassion, not cash. The room erupted in applause, glasses raised, people wiping eyes. And Mother stood abruptly, face crumbling, and headed for the door. She didn't make it. Halfway to the exit, Mother turned back. Her carefully constructed composure had completely shattered. Tears streaked her makeup. Her hands shook. "You're right," she said, voice breaking. The room went silent again. "About all of it. I am cruel. I do judge. I've made everything about image instead of love." She looked around the room, at the faces watching her. "I did to you exactly what my mother did to me. And I swore I never would." Her voice cracked. "I'm so sorry." She looked at Carmen. "I'm sorry to you especially. You didn't deserve that dinner. That list. Any of it." Carmen stood slowly across the room. For a moment, I thought she might say something harsh. Instead, she said quietly, "Thank you for saying that." Mother turned to me. "I don't expect forgiveness. I don't deserve to be here. I just needed you to know I see what I did. I see what I've become." She started toward the door again. This time I stopped her. "Wait." She turned, eyes red, mascara smudged. "You can stay," I said carefully. "If you want to. Really stay, not just observe. No conditions. No defenses. Just be here with us." She looked terrified. Looked around at the room full of people she'd judged, people who'd witnessed her cruelty, people she deemed unworthy. "I don't know how," she whispered. "Then learn," I said gently. "Start by sitting down." She hesitated, then nodded, returned to her seat. This time, when she sat, the rigid posture was gone. She looked smaller, vulnerable, human. The celebration continued, but something had fundamentally shifted. Mother didn't leave. She stayed for 2 hours, gradually relaxing into the space. She even spoke briefly with Thomas, an awkward but genuine exchange about teaching and education. People watched her carefully, not quite trusting, but giving space for something new. At 9, most guests started leaving. Warm goodbyes, congratulations, genuine joy shared all around. Mother approached me at the end, her armor completely gone now. "Thank you," she said quietly, "for not throwing me out. I didn't want to throw you out. I wanted you to see what you were missing." She nodded, tears threatening again. "I did. I saw it. And I have a lot to think about." She left without demanding anything, without trying to control the narrative or manage perceptions. Just left, carrying the weight of what she'd witnessed and what she'd finally acknowledged. My father lingered. "That took courage. For both of you." "She still has a long way to go," I said. "I know. But she took the first step. That's something." After everyone left, Marcus and I stood in the empty venue, surrounded by the debris of celebration. Empty glasses, scattered napkins, dying flowers. "That was intense," he said. "Yeah. How do you feel?" I thought about it. "Free," I said finally. "For the first time in my life, I feel completely free." The engagement party was everything I'd hoped for and nothing like Mother had envisioned. Looking back, I realized her absence would have been easier in some ways. Less dramatic, less raw. But her presence, her breakdown, her public acknowledgement, had forced something open that needed breaking. In the days after, I heard from multiple people. Carmen called. "Your mother sent me a note, a real apology, acknowledging specifically what she did and why it was wrong." "How do you feel about that?" "Surprised," Carmen admitted. "And hopeful. Maybe." Patricia reached out too. "Your mother is different. Quieter. Less certain. I think that speech shook something loose in her." "Good," I said. I meant it. 2 weeks later, Mother called. "Can we have coffee? Just to talk." We met at a different cafe. She looked tired, less polished than usual. "I've been seeing someone," she said. "A therapist. To talk about my mother, about control, about why I became what I became." "That's good." She helped me understand that I've been using social status as a shield. If I could control who was worthy, I'd never have to feel unworthy myself. She looked at me, like my mother made me feel. I nodded. "I can't promise I'll change overnight. These patterns are deep. But I want to try. I'm not asking for perfect, I said. Just honest. Honest I can do, she said. Starting with, I'm proud of you. For setting boundaries. For knowing your worth. For being stronger than I was. It wasn't everything. But it was a start. Months passed. Mother attended weekly therapy. She made small but genuine efforts. Asking about Marcus's work with real interest. Having lunch with Carmen. Catching herself mid-judgment and apologizing. It wasn't transformation. It was slow, difficult work. She still slipped into old patterns sometimes. Still worried about appearances. Still struggled with accepting people outside her social comfort zone. But when called out, she acknowledged it. Tried to do better. This is hard, she admitted one day over coffee. Letting go of beliefs I've held my whole life. I know, I said. But you're doing it. That matters. We weren't back to normal. We'd never be back to the old normal, where I managed her emotions and absorbed her cruelty. Instead, we were building something new. Something with boundaries. With honesty. With accountability. She'd lost friends over the incident. Lost influence. Lost the easy authority she'd wielded for decades. Some people couldn't forgive her. Couldn't forget what she'd said and done. That was fair. But she was learning to value different things. To measure worth differently. To find identity in something besides social standing. Your wedding, she said carefully. I'd like to be involved. If you'll let me. In whatever capacity you're comfortable with. I thought about it. We'll see. One boundary at a time. She nodded, accepting the conditionality. Accepting that trust had to be rebuilt slowly. Thank you, she said. For not giving up on me completely. You're my mother, I said. I don't want to lose you. I just can't sacrifice myself to keep you comfortable. Today I sit in the same apartment where I first decided on silence all those months ago. But everything feels different now. Marcus and I are planning our wedding. Both sets of parents are involved, not equally, not perfectly, but genuinely. Mother helps where invited, respects boundaries when set. She's learning. I think back to that engagement dinner, to the moment Mother pulled out that printed list and declared my happiness embarrassing. That night broke something fundamental. But maybe things needed breaking. The version of me that absorbed cruelty to maintain peace is gone. The version of Mother that wielded social status like a weapon is crumbling. In their place, two imperfect people learning how to love each other honestly. I didn't destroy my mother. I outgrew the need for her approval. And in that outgrowing, I gave her space to grow too. She's not who she was. Neither am I. The power I claimed wasn't revenge. It was self-worth. The boundary I set wasn't punishment. It was protection. The truth I spoke wasn't cruelty. It was clarity. And the happiness I've built, surrounded by people who love me as I am, engaged to a man who sees my worth, free from the constant work of managing someone else's image, is justice in its purest form. Mother was right about one thing. Society does have expectations. But I get to choose which expectations I meet. And I choose love. I choose authenticity. I choose relationships, built on respect instead of resumes. The guest list changed that night. Not just for the party, but for my life. And I've never looked back.